Yeah.
Well, I hate to
Well-
tell you, but she is.
Excellent.
I'm gonna be your habit.
Awesome, good.
For sure. I just about an hour or two to be ready and finally sort of like. Fine. Okay, let's start the meeting. Okay. Sergeant of Arms, who isn't here? So I had somebody that would like to be the sergeant, Amy. Indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
You have to say the words in bold as if they are bold. All right.
I think we got it. Back there, don't. Thank you, Amy. The work is not done yet. Okay, so that being said, let's move into our inspirational comment of the day.
You want some really good inspirational words of the day?
I do,
Okay, you need them.
I do.
Kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. Mother Teresa.
Oh, nice. So just a clarification, I put this in my agenda here, so we are recording. We're recording, so just keep that in your head. Right, and we have a couple of guests in the audience today. So we have Hannah back here, who's thinking about joining, she's filling her application now, so awesome. And she did bring the donuts, so let's move her around.
No, that's called a bribe. pull one of her out with me.
Exactly, right, and then underneath the donuts is a couple of tickets to Hawaii, so don't brush up. Then we have over here, we have Tim Heimerling.
Good.
And, yeah, no, this is
I know.
and give a little background if you will.
Sure, I work for Providence Home, Hospice and Home Care in Snohomish County. Started there a couple months ago, in Snohomish. So it's just kind of shopping, so I say, wherever we go. So, okay. So, and you know, it's kind of, everybody does that. The one you want to do, like, you heard that briefly.
Oh, application.
Let's ask this, should we be on our best behavior or our worst behavior?
I think I really want to work on it.
All right.
Awesome. And so we have a new member, which you already know, Joel here, so if you would come up. Yeah, here's the rest of the day.
Okay, yeah, you need to sign.
I gotta sign this.
Yeah.
Just a technical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ron was a guy that filed down here, so Joel is the badge, and I will get time for it. A form now, we're getting time below. And the plan, and the word is basic, so one knows, red goes. And then. And then just.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. No, I don't think, no, I don't know. And so birthdays, today is the day of the week for birthdays. And it's John Spencer's birthday on the 25th, so I don't know how old he is, but you know, so anyway, happy birthday, John. It's awesome, and I didn't see any spouses, birthdays, or anniversaries, or Rotary anniversaries. Did I miss anybody? Okay, so a couple of us went to, Kristen and Josie, our state student, went up to Surrey, BC, and there was some classes up there. It was phenomenal. It was amazing. It was pretty fun. And it was pretty easy to get through the border, and the border coming back was a little bit long, but not too bad. But it was a lot of fun up there. Talked to a lot of people. So that was pretty cool. And then our district conference is coming up May 5th and 7th, and I think there are some people that have already signed up for that. So I'm going to sign up for that. And today is the last day of the month. And that means if you don't sign up today, the prices are going to go up. I don't know how much, but you know, just to let you know, if you can get out to the web and sign in and sign up for the district conference. It is in Vancouver, BC. So keep that in your head. Surrey, yeah, Surrey.
Yeah, go to Vancouver and then come back to school. Yeah.
I've heard of stories about that.
Yeah.
And then another thing is we want to, the convention is in Melbourne, Australia. So if anybody wants to go do that, that would be awesome. That's in May also, so it's kind of a double thing, but it'd be kind of fun to have everybody up there in Surrey. So anyhow, on with that, let's try and promote applications and fund applications so people can submit funds to Tracy here through the website or a handwritten form, and then she will put those together and digest it, and we'll all decide, you know, what's yours.
Actually, can
Yes.
I expound on that?
Yes.
So right now we have 5 applications received, Sherwood, Shelter Box, Skyline PTA, YMCA, and Bridge Receiving Center. Thank you, Tracy. I'm expecting to get a few more, senior center, like Student Education Foundation, a couple others that, we may not need to worry about this year because we've already related to them. I'm looking for volunteers who will help me raise them, similar to how we do the,
Oh, sure.
scholarships, thank you. So if you would like to, I know I have the committee who will help put together the form, so Don and Chris and Michelle and.
You should have the one from Arlington.
All right. I can-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in there, I saw that. It was handwritten,
Yeah.
Okay,
that was for 5,000.
okay, all
The
right.
water project.
That's,
So
that's a
Lori,
little bit different, request though. Because it's coming from another Rotary Club, so it's a little, it's coming out of the foundation. But it's a little bit different than the ones that you're collecting, but it's in the same type of realm.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right, so what I'd like to know though is who else would volunteer to help read the applications and grade them, so Lori and Amy. The whole page.
Are you talking about every one?
Yes.
I don't know if we want to put those.
Out to people, and then I need to know from the board, I'd like to, as the committee, kind of figure out, okay, we want to fund this one fully, this one maybe half. So how much money do I get to play with?
So we're gonna talk about that at the up and coming board meeting, we'll have the whole budget, we'll talk about everything, and we'll talk about that, how much we have to do. And then, might be a good time, we have a little bit of time to, like, talk about next year's budget, and who wants less funds, who wants more funds.
It's a perfect opportunity for you to tell them how much you need.
Yeah.
Remember, he was the dictator.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I think it's April something, but Gary will be, okay. Anything, thank you very much. Yeah. Anything else on that? Otherwise, we'll go to the treasurer's report.
April 18th, is the next board, meeting. Last day of tax. And yes, I think anybody who's interested in our cash flow issues as opposed to our budget, what is part of the budget, should be there. And that would be important that we need to talk about. But we made a huge commitment to do that. And that is paid out finally after all these years. So we're gonna have a kind of a cash flow thing going on in terms of how to help out other folks. And I think that one of the things we do on the table positive is building into our fund.
Yeah, I think one was set up just for that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more in it than.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely, it'll be a pretty big deal. I probably won't be awake for it, but I'll be there.
Sharpen your pencil. And so, dues are due. So,
Yeah, we got about, I think, last count, people who haven't paid yet. Very few people that are here have not paid,
okay,
just a couple.
we'll have to figure out how to contact them or whatever.
Yeah, I will have to, I did send out invoices.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did send out invoices, but, who knows, so.
Okay, great, thanks. And then the secretary's report.
The board meeting,
Yeah, when is it?
it's on Tuesday, April 18th at Ryan's office.
Good.
And, due to the stormy weather this weekend, Guns and Hoses has been postponed.
Oh, my God.
And will be rescheduled later on. Right, Ron?
I'm gonna be in some areas on the phone.
Okay. Well, they sent that notice, they sent that note out, let us know. I'll echo what Chris said about the district assembly. It was pretty good. Went to one on the club runner, and then went to one on documents, and there's a lot that we may have to do. And that, in that vein, some of the clubs have taken out extra insurance. even though Rotary International has insurance on all of us, on our Rotary Club and everything, it's still, we may still have to do something to protect ourselves. So I'll be looking at that and talking with the district and, RI to find out what they're going to do. Shouldn't be a lot of money. I mean, I think what they're saying is it might be another $400 or $500 a year for get extra insurance for our Rotary Club.
Right. Insurance.
Yeah, it was a good session, had a lot of people, some light clubs. Everyone's going through the same thing. Our growth has been pretty good, versus some clubs. And the only negative was, waiting for a couple people to show up for lunch. I was at the end of the line and we got the bare
The scrapings.
They really had a huge turnout. I think there was a lot of people that showed up that had registered at the very last minute. And they probably had 300 people there. So, and I've got to say, Josie, our candidate, did a great job. She had a lot of fun and they get to go into one session just dealing with what Rotary is all about. So she came out really enthusiastic. So I think we've got a really good candidate down in Norway. She still doesn't know where in Norway she's going, but she should find out shortly.
And she's taking language lessons to Norwegian, so she's learning the language a little bit.
Her grandfather is Norwegian, speaks Norwegian, and she has a host of family in Norway. She just doesn't know the town, because the weather has got it in relatives.
Next Friday, we're gonna have ludicrous.
We gotta get her accustomed to the diet.
Exactly. And sardines. Those are better.
You're on your own.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Secretary? Mr. John?
Well, we are just, kind of wrapping up, we have an election coming up, we have this every year, basically, for directors and officers, of the club. And the board's been, circulating around, asking various folks, what they're interested in, and that type of thing, and if they would be interested in certain roles. And I think we're pretty close to, basically, recommending candidates for every position. So, I would say even as soon as next week's meeting, we may be asking for votes. And we'll give our board will give recommendations. And, I say that because anybody else that is interested in also, this is your chance to volunteer to be also considered for the position.
Nominating from the floor.
So, just be ready.
You want to run for president of the United States, a good start to try to run for something.
Something local.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Okay, thanks. Here again, we're going to be gearing up for our Forks and Caves and Aquafest, so we'll be looking for some leadership positions there to kind of help roll with that. So that's, something we can do, and we can all be hands-on and help shut corn for starters, and then Forks and Caves, try and find some wine and such gifts as that. So keep that in your head, because usually we always give a basket. Every member brings a basket of car products, car wax, and gas card, or a dog basket over here with stuff in, or cheese, head cheese, I don't know, head cheese, cheese, things like that. So keep that in mind, and a couple bottles of, oh, we can't do that anymore, can we bring it down? Anyhow, later, that's all later. So, okay, and then we have Ron, Club Services.
Great.
Party time.
Just find the first, fire, in April 11th.
Okay,
I believe, 7 p.m.
got that?
In terms of the second Tuesday,
You know,
every month.
and it's at the Lake Stevens Brewery, you all know where that is.
So it's downhill from here.
It is. Okay, thanks, Ron.
Do you have any group coming in town?
Where's that going?
Meatheads. And
I
Co.
had somebody who was in and went that too, there was a restaurant that there was too much space on, so what's the name of the brewery? Oh, okay, we got a couple other breweries out too. Yeah. Oh, cool.
It's been Co.
Really? Didn't go?
Yeah.
They don't give you all.
Is that Who knew? Okay, Brian, community services, big change up.
Yeah, we changed, the tours down to next Friday, but it's this weekend, so, I sent out an email for signups and it'll start around 10 o'clock in the morning after the show.
Next Friday.
Yeah, next Friday. Yeah, next Friday. Yeah, the weather's supposed to be. Yeah.
Spring break.
Oh, it's gonna be
break,
nice.
yeah.
And then if we don't finish up, we'll be excited. Okay. I mean, you watch the weather, there's been 90% chance of rain tomorrow and Sunday, but I mean, I will be on those for those.
Very good, dry. Okay, anything else? Thanks, Brian. And Jim's not here, and Linda International.
Okay, just a short report here. We didn't have a January meeting and, anyway, I was on the last one via Zoom. They had a great visit down to, all of our villages down there to get school going, hand the kids out. I think I actually already, announced that, but,
That's cool.
they're ramping up the next trip that I talked about before in August. And that is just just for us to go if we want, and there's really no work being done. It's for us to get introduced to the villages if we want to, and she has a handful of people signed up for that and their spouses, so that's good.
Cool.
They got a bunch of donations. Interestingly enough, there's a fellow from Kansas City. But he's not even affiliated with Rotary, but he's just giving money like to our group.
Cool.
And he just donated for this water project, $12,500.
Awesome.
And he's the one that offered to fix the gentleman's truck that drives us around, that I think I announced before it needed repairs, and he just said, I'll pay for it. So that's very interesting. They're asking about inviting him out so that we can all meet him and thank him in person. The group needs 9 laptops. They are under $200 a piece now. They didn't really ask for money for that, but it kind of was in the context of, since everybody's donating money, if somebody wants to donate, $200 for a laptop or all of them, whatever, then they do need that. But they don't have-
Who's the laptop? The
The
school?
students.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Realized today.
Yeah, IPA.
definitely right here, yeah. And then, like, I think we mentioned, or maybe it's off, the record, but the Kenya presentation that we had, we are gonna be talking about that, and they asked for 5,000.
Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
cool.
be talking about that.
Yeah.
Next week.
And they're leveraging that off for grant money, which is like 50% more. or
50% more, yeah,
Cool, that's good.
Yeah.
Indeed, I think the application. is gonna be-
the application is good, yeah,
Yeah. Great. Awesome. Anything else on there?
that's it.
Okay, Kyle's not here for membership, vocational services, I think Lance has a few things to say.
Sure, so scholarships are due next Friday, April 7th. The last I checked, I haven't checked in a couple of days because it's a separate email address to me. I only had one application. So it happens every year that they all come in the last week, so I'm not panicked yet. But I do want to do some more promotion.
Yeah.
Around the scholarship. So anybody that please share the word that's, in the Lake Stevens School District, whether they're in the school district proper or, private schools, that are affiliated with Lake Stevens School District. I
I would hope that we could do some Facebook promotion, so if we can get some things out that we can all share,
Yeah.
maybe on Facebook or social media, about the scholarships, to try to get them in. I'll do a little bit of work, next week. I'll reach out to Snow Isle on the vocational side, to see if we can generate some applicants there. And then watch for an email from me if you want to be a judge. You will have an opportunity to score these applications. One thing to note that came up in our conversation is, can Rotary members, sons or daughters, apply for scholarships? So we met as a committee this year and decided that who is going to be a better candidate to be a future Rotarian, than the kids of us who are Rotarians. So we didn't feel good about cutting them out because of a conflict of interest with Rotary. If I need to go to some kind of a blind scoring, I'll figure that out. But anyone that is connected, of course, if you had a son or daughter that did apply, we probably wouldn't have you as a judge scoring the applicant. But we really wanted to promote it in that way as well. There was a conversation about it last year, and we made the decision this year that it should be open. So watch for more information, share it as widely as you possibly can.
I'll share it with the PPE, guide.
Perfect.
What time frame does the judging happen?
I don't have my timeline in front of me, but I will put that out in an email to you.
It is very subjective and very matrix driven, so I mean, it's kind of hard to cheat the system, I guess you would say.
Correct.
It's all graded and rated and all that stuff. There's no favoritism at
Correct.
all. It's-
Very defensible.
Yeah, right.
And the May 26th, Rotary meeting will be giving out the scholarships.
Yep.
To the high school students. That have,
They'll be here and we'll have it, it'll be really cool. Tables, parents will be in here and it'll be really cool.
We'll have a light, refreshment, light breakfast that day, so.
Mimosas and Bloody Marys will be
Yeah.
served. No,
the-
I'm just kidding, just kidding. Are you gonna organize that?
Yep.
Awesome, great, you do a great job on that.
I already have it on my calendar.
Oh, good,
Time ago.
good. Great. Excellent. Anything else, Lance?
Nope, that's good.
Thanks. And I think I missed Anthony, when you had a couple of mentions about the food bank or
Yeah, so
soft opening.
well, I wanted to invite you guys for a tour, so we're definitely not open yet. But it was also gonna be next Friday with Brian Williams.
Oh, yeah.
So I figured it's a perfect opportunity for the teachers that are on spring break. So what time are you guys gonna be done on Friday? Okay, what time is it? Just when I can go in, so.
I think, how about we take it down late afternoon?
Okay,
We can carry over Saturday, of course.
okay, perfect.
It would make sense to do that first. Because oftentimes it's, even though I say it's cool and so you're right.
and we could defer until 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we do that, we're ready.
Down the road, I mean, so that'd be good.
So how about that, it leaves it like.
Yeah, we don't have to
You don't have a. And.
Yeah, we'll call it 10 o'clock. I won't be here at Rotary to remind you guys. We'll take it.
Brian,
Yeah.
so after the meeting, we'll go to the food bank for a quick whistle stop.
Yep.
And then we'll go over to the school. Or Blaze Fire. Okay, in Scouts, a little update there, they have a new Scoutmaster, they're gonna pass the torch, they're gonna have a ceremony sometime in April to pass the Scoutmaster torch, and the Scoutmaster will sit at grade 3, she'll be the assistant scout, so we'll be kind of cool. I'll get more information on that. And so anything on that? No, Kendra Pinkelman.
I
Yeah.
am here. So I have a few questions actually. My first of which is, spring break next week. Do we have access to the school district office or are we gonna be somewhere else?
Yeah, anybody on that?
Better let the president know we're coming.
What?
Better let the president know we're coming.
Yeah, okay.
Wait a second, wait a second, yes.
What?
Why don't we make it officially at the food bank?
We could, what do you guys think? We could just have a short.
Better ask Dan.
Yeah, at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
Well, it could be a little bit, right? I don't think that's.
Okay, so I wasn't gonna be at Rotary.
so we're gonna follow you. Where are you gonna be?
Oh my God.
I don't know if the Economic Alliance meeting will hold you guys
Oh, there's a meeting, a pre-meeting?
there. Meeting before the.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I gotta check and see.
Could be, yeah.
You guys want to start the meeting with that?
What?
I thought the building.
I'll double check, we'll get a message out, if it's
All right.
yeah, here, we'll go to the buzzer.
Usually Kim lets us know in advance. She hasn't said anything.
There, I did see something that said we had to be out on one day, which I don't remember, by like 8:45, so. We'll get that out. Did you see that, Gary? I think you remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
No, after the meeting.
I was just gonna send a note to Kim. See if he-
Okay. And
Wait,
then-
so, the microphone is is a little more muffled than usual today, so I'm not quite sure what the consensus was about next Friday.
Good, bad, thanks for the test. So, someone in the back say something.
Hello.
No, not you, Gary.
See, I can hear when noise occurs from people in the audience, but I cannot tell what they're saying at all. So I was just curious. I thought I heard we'd meet at the new food bank next Friday.
What?
No.
Just that, she wants to know when are we meeting next Friday?
We don't know yet.
And
Okay.
it'll be here unless an email goes out otherwise.
Yeah, did you hear that?
Will it be there unless an email goes out?
Yes,
Okay,
check your email, otherwise it's here.
sounds
And
good.
then, It's gonna be somewhere else, I'll probably try and set Zoom up possibly, or maybe not. Anyhow, stay tuned.
We'll find out. I just sent Kim a note.
Yeah. Okay,
Might have
good.
more to say, Chris.
What?
She might have more to say. She said that.
Yeah, no, you have any, yeah, thank you. Sergeant of Arms this week. Kendra, do you have anything else?
I was also gonna throw out there, a few weeks ago, I emailed out to a number of our new members to schedule a classification talk, and Rand was the only one that responded. Thank you so much, Rand. So if anyone didn't get that email and you're a new member and haven't done a classification talk, or if I maybe didn't type your email in right or didn't go through or whatever, please contact me and we can find a date to schedule more classification talks.
Okay, awesome. You're doing a great job. Thanks, Kendra. Okay, so, any club communications? Maybe? No. Okay. And then we already talked about the applications. And then, so now we have Amy. Starting in the barn city.
Ticket, right?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
ticket draw
Ticket draw.
and a money grab.
That's right. All right, Jay. Well, Tim, you know how to do this, if you know what we're about, okay? I don't have to tell you.
Okay. The last one I had it one.
Had money, how much money is in there, Jack?
797.
Look at that.
You said today is the last day of the month, so tomorrow is April 1st. So everyone will stand up real quick. If you are hold me, try to say this right. The Dave Sandy, if you are not going to the Sherwood Gala tomorrow night, sit down. Let's applaud everyone that's standing and going. Yeah. I have to say, the dollar to get out of the chair competition.
Awesome, that's cool.
Like, Tony, the, funny, you know, they proposed that we can play on our family members in our house tomorrow.
I've always heard them double fold the sheets in bed, so when you get in, you can't get your feet all the way down.
Well, if you remember a few years ago, there was a 737 that was landing on the lake with pontoons on it.
Yeah.
And some of us went over to see how many people were gonna be there, and there were 20 people lined up waiting to see this thing happen.
21 is something scary.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. This month, of course,
Good job.
Anything like happy birthday.
I'm very excited that, we actually bought seeds for the farm and then you know, trying to do farm. I'm happy that I finally got to meet my granddaughter. Her name is Jane.
How old is she? How old?
1 week old.
well, and, the day after Easter, we are working on a minimum of 5,800 mile trip. Boise, Denver, Santa Fe, Fort Worth, Baton Rouge, someplace in the middle of East Texas on the way home to, Tucson for 3 or 4 days. Frank's not to drive at Palm Springs for a night.
Wow.
And then Danville for our son, for 3 or 4 days, and then up, so I'll be here next April, so you all have fun.
I remember how to get.
That would actually kill me.
That's pretty neat.
Well, I'm happy for the start of baseball season, like my grandson game last night, and the Mariners had a great game. Well, summer's on its way to spring, something.
Oh, I didn't have it all, and that was, and I forgot my bill. And fortunately, I found a few dollars in the test.
Well, I am happy I got my application in with our city, because we're easy and polite and children work for a new dock. Oh, to replace my existing dock. And I'll be with that.
We'll see how you become that.
Everybody's having a good time today, and I really appreciate everybody showing up here, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. We got a lot of projects going on, and it's gonna be a
Kendra?
Yep. Oh, I suppose my happy bucks is maybe, we're repainting one of our main rooms in our house. And, so my happy bucks is my hope that it won't last much longer because the house is in total disarray and everything's moved into other rooms, so.
We'll do well with them. I am happy my boys hired Grant. Gave the Mariners some love last night. Happy that my son continues to be our track on the jump. They're my happy bucks. I have a happy dollar. I'm gonna have a lunch date with Joyce today, so if y'all need a lunch date, just give her a call. She's great. Happy dollar, a couple weekends ago, I went and did a Botox course, and it was amazing. I transformed my niece's life. Just Botox, not for beauty, but yes,
Headaches.
but headaches and jaw pain, and I mean, I gave trigger point, yeah, it was amazing. So, it's amazing. Yeah. So I'm happy to have to take it for a friend. And I'm happy to be, I'm getting my yard done, and that's real big.
Cool.
Oh, I put my money in there earlier when my payment was on. But I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to see all the new people here, and, that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Got one for the Mariners and one, my 4-year-old started football and it was a shit show. My wife really tried to get me, I declined because I think herding cats would be easier. But it was pretty awesome to watch.
They wear all the things.
So they have to wear cleats and a mouth guard, which it's 3 and 4-year-olds. So like you can imagine,
Oh my God.
they like try to trade with each other. And try to grab the ball holding a mouth guard. It didn't stay in their mouth. It was cool. My wife took pictures.
I'm happy my son got rid of his dirt bike, because watching him do the tricks that he would do scared me to death. So there's one called the Superman seat grab. You jump the bike, and you slide off the back of the bike, and you are holding on to the fender, and you pull yourself back up on the bike. Before it landed, he landed multiple times before the bike did. It's, I mean, he finally got it, but it's just scary to watch. I mean, the next thing you want to do is like flip the bike, it's like, nah. Yeah. So you got to do that damn thing, you got a UTV, it has a roll cage, so. You know,
You get your own insurance.
yeah, he doesn't like a car, so. it's expensive.
There's happy 20, make up for the last couple of weeks, and thanks for the shout out for the gala, our biggest event is Saturday, tomorrow. For last minute details all over Sherwood. And next Friday, if you haven't seen it on the community pages, we're doing an Easter egg hunt at Sherwood. We've got about 1.5 acres of property behind our buildings. And we've got 4,500 eggs just waiting for kids. So if you haven't shared that, please let people in the community know. We're doing it for some of our families, but we wanted to be an inclusive event. So we invited the whole community. Next Friday. So it's a busy Friday.
What time?
Afternoon. I got it at 2 o'clock on my calendar, but I'm not sure I'm still each qualified.
Yeah, I am somebody.
Yeah.
I steal all the eggs. We can play some games for them, Dave.
18 days, Jack says, and all is well. And his right here with him. Also, at my happy moment, and I am qualified for the oyster slicing championship tonight.
Where's that at?
Anthony's Restaurant in Everett.
Is it like,
My parents are really proud. So my whole family is.
are they raw oysters?
They're raw oysters, they give you 9 in a platter, And then you can use your hands, and then how fast can you slurp it up? Yeah.
Have you been practicing?
For practice. So the difference you all scattered around. So I stacked them all near me in like a stadium style. And then I just, exhale
Over.
and go for it.
Well, everybody gets an eye on a plate, and the first person that sets them all down is the winner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will not win first place, because the guy that gets first place with it in 4 seconds. Oh my God. It's so weird. Time was
It's like fold the plate.
right, yeah. So I think like 9 to 11 seconds. I'm happy with that.
You get to put tail sauce on there.
So my husband tries to qualify, but he just doctored his up and just like kind of standardized it for me.
It's like hot sauce.
Yeah.
That's cool. How many participants, did you do it before?
Yeah, I qualify. So every Friday they do it. They take the top 6 people.
Okay, cool.
I'll
Awesome.
fly your challenge. No, wait, I'm not my team. Not my team.
Cool, cool. Okay, we, all done with the happy bucks? Everybody's happy. Okay, so,
Or go down.
okay. So with that, we have Tracy Rostello from Bridge Receiving, which is like between here and Grand Falls. Welcome. In your presentations here, and you gotta use the people.
Okay. Yes, I appreciate it. I probably have more slides than there's time for, so I'll go through quick. But, most of you know what Bridge Receiving Center is? Okay, good. Then we can go through lots of this quick. So, happy to be back. You guys know the problem in the state of Washington with foster care and kids entering, we're traumatizing children by the way we're bringing them into the system, and they're already traumatized to begin with. So Bridge is a chance to de-traumatize the start of foster care, basically is what we're doing. Very successfully. We've been open now. I started 5 years ago. I'm the fundraiser, director of development, which sounds fancy because I'm the only one raising money. I direct myself. But we opened August 2020. So yeah, so doing that well. There's Bridge Receiving Center. We don't actually publicize our address, but many of you know where it is. Some of you volunteer there. So yeah, 4 to 17-year-olds come to Bridge that are entering for the first time into foster care. 24-hour care, every day around the clock. And then you can see down there that fact figure of what the state gives us actually has changed. So 25% comes from the state, and I raised the other 75%. And I do go back, love this. This is a giant mural. When you walk in, the size of, it's bigger than this, but just lets kids know this is a safe place, because that's the number one thing. We are all about keeping kids safe. The difference at Bridge, there are receiving centers in the state of Washington and around the country. There are 72-hour facilities. So children come for 72 hours. When the state removes you, they have 72 hours to prove their case and decide what happens to a child. So there's a lot of 72-hour facilities. Some of them have been closing lately. The state has changed their legislation as to when they pull children, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But and then there are residential facilities, but we haven't found any facility like Bridge in the country. That doesn't mean it's not there, we just haven't found it. So Bridge is unique in that we do children 30 to 60 days or longer. The boy of 113 days is the longest we've had so far. And on average, 21 days is what a child will stay. Kids can come with their siblings if there's room. We have taken as young as 2 and 3 year olds. Last year, the state had 2 and 3 year olds that needed care. And so we took them in. And we are connected to a camp. So everything that we do is focused around trauma healing. Number one, everything we do, our staff is continually trained in trauma responsive care, because children that have been traumatized act differently than children that have not been. Sometimes it seems that their reactions are very inappropriate. Sometimes they're just very confusing, and sometimes there's no reaction at all, depending on how numb they are. So what we're trying to do is help children. You've got 72 hours. Also, statistics show you have 72 hours for a child that's been traumatized by a specific incident to get that incident processed through and not have it become a part of their somatic experience long-term. So we're working hard to have kids be able to deal with what's happened to them, express it in ways that are helpful for them, teach them what their triggers are, teach them de-escalation techniques, all of that kind of stuff. And also have fun. So we're connected to a children's camp, and one of the best ways children process is play. And, you know, when adults want to go somewhere, we send them off to camp to have a life-changing experience. Well, that's what we're doing with the kids. So kids are climbing the high rock wall, they're encountering their fears, they're learning to trust other people. All the good things you learn at camp is what we're trying to do for kids at Bridge Receiving Center. Animal therapy, we have a farm that the kids go visit. We're getting them out in the city. We're trying to help them understand who they are and who they want to be and support that in whatever way we can. And then we have on-site specialists. We've hired a clinical therapist of our own because the state was only able to come during the day. And funny thing, kids are at school during the day, so that didn't work very well. So we now have our own clinical therapist. We have an educational coordinator who's working with the school districts where the children come from, or Lake Stevens has been phenomenal. When children aren't able to go to their home school, they go to Lake Stevens, or we Zoom school them or in-person care. So we have one little boy there now who has not ever been enrolled in school. He is nonverbal, autistic, has never been to school. I think he's 8, 9, something like that. And so there are some children that aren't able to go to school, but we're still, our educational coordinator and our tutors are still working with those kids, trying to help bring them up to speed. So lots of creative ways to help children process fear. Here's just some pictures. You'll notice we never show their faces. We don't tell you who they are. But these are some of the kids that have been through Bridge Receiving Center. You see that little boy up there? Every child that comes puts their hand, gets to pick the color of paint and puts their handprints on the inside fence to show that they've been there and to help other children as they walk through those gates, see how many other kids have been there. They love that part of the process. Lots of movement therapy, yoga therapy, play. There you can see the boy climbing the rock wall. Just trying to have a lot of fun. Under this little picture of this little girl sleeping, you can't see, but there's peanut butter all over her shirt and there's peanut butter all over her face. And the fact that this little girl was finally safe enough to sleep was just a gift. So children learn to sleep at Bridge, they learn to eat at Bridge, they learn what to expect and what they're worth. So always trying to help kids understand who they are. We now also are trying to help families as well. So one of the things that I told you about, the state has changed legislation recently. So some facilities like ours are closing because there aren't as many kids coming into care. It doesn't mean kids don't need our help, but the state has changed the designation with good reason, we think, but with not so helpful outcomes. So they've changed it so that it's hard to pull a child for neglect now. You used to pull for neglect or abuse, and neglect could be lack of food, lack of adequate housing. It's really hard to pull for neglect now because is it neglect or is it poverty? And they were finding that children were being profiled either racially or economically, and so they're trying to change that. So they don't pull for neglect as much. One example that did count for neglect, we got 2 boys in whose mother dropped them off in a park in Seattle this last Christmas time with one blanket and said, I'll be back to you guys whatever day I can get here. That was considered extreme neglect. Fortunately, those children were found. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. They were found and brought to Bridge. So they do still do it, just not as often. And then abuse, it takes like 2 or 3 cases now. It used to not take that many. So children that are coming into the system are worse off than children used to be, but there's also children not coming into the system that shouldn't be in the system. So it's a pendulum. It's swung really wide. It's going to swing the other way, but it means our capacity is usually at about half of what it should be. So we're trying to get creative and see what we can do to help the children that are there as well as help the parents. So we now take children through a voluntary placement program with the state of Washington. This means that parents that haven't yet lost their custody of their children, but they're getting close, or they have to go to jail or go to treatment, and they'd be away from their children and for that long, and their children would go into foster care normally because they don't have family to care for them. Now those parents can come through the state to Bridge, their children can come to Bridge Receiving Center. So voluntary placement, the parent doesn't lose custody while they're with us. Those children can stay 30 to 60 days, just like the other ones. And we're then able to really prevent abuse, prevent neglect, but also interact via Zoom with some of these families as well. And that's been a real great program that parents are really appreciative of. And then our parent partner program. So we now have a staff member that's job is to work with bio families when kids are going back home. So right now, the state is trying to reunite whenever possible. So more children are going back home than used to go back home. And part of that is to reduce the numbers of kids in foster care, lots of reasons. But the children would go back home and we aren't able to have any contact with children once they leave Bridge Receiving Center. But through our parent partner program, we can have contact with them through our staff member that doesn't work on site with the kids. She works with the families. And what we are able to do then is provide these parents with resources, connect them to job type programs, connect them to how they need heat, housing, food. What do they need? Trauma care themselves. Do they need to understand more? They need more help from us in working with their children. So we're now able to go and work with those parents. And then we get to see the kids that have been returned from Bridge to those families. So it's been a really good way that we've found to be very smart at how we can continue our care for these kids. And it really does help. Most of the bio parents that we're working with were traumatized children themselves that didn't get any trauma care. Many of them were in the foster care system. So we're trying to educate them. The state does offer resources to those families. It's like 6 months lag time right now. That's too long. By the time these 6 months have gone by, just forget it. So we're just jumping on it right away. And also trying to provide some mentors to kids that are old enough to do that. So children we've received so far, these two little legs are from our first 2 children ever into the program. So it's been real fun to see what's happened since then. 149 children, that's about half of what we expected to have in the first 2 years, but 149 children. You can see the age ranges there. 71% are coming in sibling sets. We have 6 kids at a time. We recently, the state said, can you extend your license to 8, which you can't really do that, but we did for those 2 families. It was 2 sets of 4, and you can imagine how hard it is to place 4 kids together anywhere. So we had, and there were lots of teens in that mix too, so we were able to extend to that. But most of the kids come with their siblings. You can see most of them are boys, most of them Caucasian. So 52% come from the region that includes Snohomish County. This is Region 3, goes all the way up to Island Lake and all that. So most of them are coming from here. The next chunk come from King County, but so far we've had kids from 11 counties across Washington State. Vancouver, Spokane, all over the state of Washington, they're coming to Bridge. We have a reputation now for good trauma care, for really troubled kids, and for working with nonverbal autistic kids. So we have a good reputation of taking some of those kids that are really hard to place. And then you can see there the average length of stay. What we're trying to do at Bridge, help kids feel safe, create stability. Stability brings about less trauma, less felt trauma in the body, and help children feel safe enough to start to trust again. And what happens with the normal system, kids are bounced from place to place to place, or their traumas never processed, and they have a wall up, understandably, right? They're not going to trust anyone, and so they will continue to bounce, and then you see those horrible, tragic outcomes. There is a foster care to prison, foster care to sex trafficking, foster care to homelessness. You name the tragic outcome, there's a pipeline from foster care to it. So what we're trying to do is change some of those outcomes and create stability for these children. Many of these children have never known any stability. They eat at when they want, where they can find it. They eat at gas stations. We had a couple of kids that they've never eaten anywhere but in, the convenience store and the gas station. Didn't know what it was to have a bedtime. They fall asleep when they want, where they want. And so trying to teach them routines and schedules, create stability in them. And we are maintaining family connections through kids coming with their siblings. And then this is even before the state changed the rules that we were trying to maintain connection as well, because we're able to find family members that the state wouldn't be able to find with 72 hours to find them. And 72 hours to get that grandmother in Texas, in the case of the two boys in Seattle, that grandmother in Texas ready to take, one of whom was her bio grandson, the other one was related to her grandson, but not related to her. And she ended up taking them, but it's because we had a long time with our parent partner working with her to get her ready for that. So we're trying to maintain stability because they do say if a kid can stay connected to their family, you know, better off traditionally, as long as you can make it a safe experience. So, and these are the outcomes that the kids are reporting and that our staff are seeing: less trauma and stress. They've gotten the understanding and support of their situation. Every kid, I think almost everyone we've had of the 149 have thought it was their fault they were there. So that's one of the first things we're saying. This isn't your fault, mom and dad. And in many cases, it's not even necessarily mom and dad's fault. This is what's going on. This is the cycle that's happening. They learn problem-solving skills, how to handle their outbursts and emotions. It's really beautiful when you can see. We've had kids throw things. We have a group of people called our bridge tenders, and they fix the house for children need. Some of them volunteers know there's holes in the wall. There's the urinate down the vents. They are lots of working out their trauma and their confusion. And so we repair the house. But these children, you see these kids that have thrown things at our staff and thrown things at the wall and wanted to hurt themselves, being able to process their emotion, count, breathe, use the tools and on their own. It's like, that's a beautiful thing, because you know you're sending a child with something valuable. Then they're going to be able to handle things going forward. And only 3 kids have returned to foster care. What that means doesn't mean only 3 kids have gone into foster care. Those are kids that were returned home, that it didn't work and they had to go back out. So that's a pretty significant statistic. So, and we count safe nights at Bridge. This is actually just through 2022, so we're up higher now. Every month I get a report on the number of nights we've held kids for. But so far at the end of 2022, 3,396 safe nights. So those are nights when a child, instead of being hurt, they know they were going to be helped and healed. So those are just some of the statistics, some quotes that you could see. These are what the kids have said themselves about what it means to be at Bridge Receiving Center. So it's meant the world to them. And then our vision for the future, also the vision for the state of Washington. So we have always thought we would start a Bridge 2 and a Bridge 3. Bridge 2 was going to be for kids that had been in the system and were bouncing around, that had never gotten that good start. We were going to work with them to try and help them understand how to develop, understand safe adults in their lives, identify safe adults, how to build a relationship with a mentor, how to give them some life skills training and tools, and work through their trauma. And then we were going to do one for kids aging out of care. The state of Washington approached us this year and said, we love what you're doing with Bridge 1. That's not what they call it, but Bridge 1. And for kids first into care, we are at a crisis in the state of Washington for kids 10 to 16 years old that have been in the system, that we can't place them anywhere, and they're homeless, many of these kids are, or they are on a really bad path, and we would love you to create a Bridge 2 for those kids. So we said, we would love to do that. How much? How much money will you give us to do that? They'll give us some, but not a whole lot. So we're now in the process. This is a vision and a dream. We haven't launched it yet, but we're headed in this direction unless something changes. We're about to start a feasibility study with our donors to find out. So we're going to do a second site. We don't know where it'll be. We're looking at somewhere in that same region, but we're not sure it'll be there. But it will be for those kids that I just talked about. I haven't been able to make a permanent placement. And really, permanency is the key for these kids. If we can get them some kind of permanent relationship, that's the key to changing things. It'll start as a 30-day program. We were going to start with three teams. Now we're talking about possibly 4 teams, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually will make a difference for them. And what we're trying to do with Bridge is be a model. So we're trying to say, here's the model for entering into care the right way. Here's the model for helping you in the middle to find permanency. Here's the model for how you exit care. And then we want others to replicate it. And I keep telling my boss, you need to go out and consult with people. And we do over the phone. People all over the country will have been calling and saying, you can do this too. we'll give you our plans, we'll give you what we do, we'll help you understand it, but we would love there to be bridge receiving centers 1, 2, and 3 in every county in Washington State, if we could, and then across the country, because we just think this is the approach. So we're not trying to solve the problem, we're trying to create a new solution and help people grab that. So lots of ways you can give. We have something called the 51 Club, which is our monthly donor circle. They got us through COVID when all the grants went to COVID and all our grants stopped, even though we had started care. So you can give $51 more a month. It used to cost $51 a night to stay. It does not anymore because we've hired the licensed clinical therapist and the educational coordinator and all that. So that's one way to care. We have an Amazon wish list, and I forgot to hand these out, but I have this piece of paper that has that wish list number. Because someone was asking about the wish list. It's wish list Wednesdays. When I remember it's Wednesday, it's posted on Facebook, and I don't always remember it's Wednesday. So you can give via Venmo, cash, check, all of that. We have a monthly newsletter. It really just tells you stories. They're really encouraging. Sometimes they're heartbreaking, but it really just tells you a story of the kids that we're helping and what's happening. I'm a really low-level fundraiser, so I don't put a lot of pressure on you until it's an event and I need to fill the room. And then if you want to volunteer, we have lots of ways to volunteer. So we need tutors, we need bridge tenders to fix things. We have bridge buyers that are people that don't come to bridge. They just go out to all the consignment stores and thrift stores and buy off of our shopping list, because every child that comes, most of them have nothing but the clothes on their back. And so we're sending them all with a big duffel bag or 3 duffel bags full of clothes, shoes, whatever they need. So trying to get kids outfitted as best we can. Yeah, I think that's it. How did I do time wise? Oh, 5 minutes over, so sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
I've got one question. On the parents partnership program, you mentioned that the specialists involved in that are not involved.
Well, they have been on staff, but they aren't bringing, there's no parents coming to Bridge ever.
Yeah.
So the parents aren't coming in there, and we don't want this, she isn't doing, it's one person right now, she isn't doing direct care in that capacity anymore, because we didn't want the kids feeling like, wait, you're over here talking to me, and then over here, you're talking to my mom. So we wanted to delineate that. So, yeah, so she is specializing in that program, so the kids feel safe, and so the parents also have that, just so there's some distinction. But she has been a direct care provider and is a foster parent herself, actually. She knows the system has a real heart for foster parents as well as a heart for bio parents. So she really wanted to take this role. Good question. Any else? Other questions? Well, thank you guys for your support. And yeah, it's really cool that this started in late season. So feel good about the fact that this is where the ground was broken to change the foster care system. Really appreciate
We have a third party fellow donation, which will be given to the education fund.
Awesome, that's beautiful. Well, we, like Stevens Education Foundation is amazing.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so, we did have some preliminary checking, and this room will be available next Friday. So we'll see you here next Friday. All right. So, any other thing for the board? Yes.
If you look at our website, you see all of our sponsors, right, that have given us money so that we can in turn be fiscally responsible and socially responsible and give that money back out. So when you go to these lines, these places, just say on behalf of the Delivery Station, right?
Yes.
If we're going to places, we just want to make sure that we acknowledge that.
Support the community. Okay, anything else? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah.
Let's see. Need to turn this off. Please stop.
I'm getting my thumb drive.
Thumb drive.